Hi folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, we all look forward in our area to bass season starting again. We lament the fact that we don't have a catch and release, but I want to talk a little bit about our bass fishing because there's two species of bass that we have, smallmouth and largemouth, and they're both very, very different. They both really demand a very different type of fishing, and I think that I wanted to highlight what the difference is. First of all, the largemouth live back in the bays, in the weeds, and they live in a much more easier access area for most of us. And the fishing style, for one, is very different than the other. We rave about catching smallmouth, but we're catching them primarily during the summer out in the current and deeper water. And largemouth are completely different. You fish the same place now that you will in the summer for them. And I've always enjoyed largemouth fishing tremendously. When I talk to people, I tell them, I sometimes would rather go out largemouth fishing than smallmouth fishing. And why is that? Well, first of all, the way that you fish is different. It's a different technique. And some people don't enjoy the way that works best for largemouth. It's a more almost subtle finesse type of fishing. And I'm talking about worm fishing right now. That is something that you can use forever. Every kind of fish seems to love something that wiggles like worms. I don't know if they have worms down there under the water that they eat or what makes them love them so much, but they do. And for largemouth fishing, using a long, as we used to talk about in the past, rubber worm, of course they're made out of plastic. 6 inches is the size that I like the best, but a lot of fishermen use them even longer. Those largemouth have great big mouths, and anybody can do this. You just cast out and be patient. It's almost like live bait fishing, and that's why a lot of people don't enjoy it as much. Plus, largemouth don't fight like smallmouth. They don't have that spirit. Smallmouth bass are a unique species that we're lucky enough to have the best smallmouth fishing in the world right here. And that's what's bringing people here from all over the country, is our spirited smallmouth. And when you combine the muscles they get from fighting the current all the time, these fish offer a spectacular experience for somebody that's lucky enough to hook into them. Largemouth don't fight like that. So why do I like it so much? I don't know. I like that type of fishing. I like being back in the bays where I'm not being pounded by waves and current. And I like being able to watch my line. It's almost like fly fishing when you're fishing these worms. You throw out and you just let the worms sink. And if the fish don't hit it on the drop, then eventually they'll come to it and they'll hit it off the bottom or wherever it's setting. And when they hit, all you see is a twitch on your line. This is something really unique and special. The other thing that works really great for largemouth fishing is using something that goes over the surface, like frogs. When I'm talking about frogs, I'm talking about imitation frogs that are made out of soft plastic. But you can cast those into the thick, heavy cover where largemouth love to go, where you can't even hardly see that there's water. And you pull those along over the surface. They're weedless, or weed-proof, I guess I should say. That's a very special way of fishing. But you can use spinner baits or buzz baits, and that's all surface fishing. And that's what makes largemouth so much fun, is you get that added dimension of being able to watch the fish hit like you can't do when you're feeling a strike with smallmouth the same. So just keep in mind they're both different ways of fishing, different species, different habits. They live in different homes. And that home the largemouth live in is one that we can all frequent easily if we have a canoe or a kayak. And one of the other things, that the DEC has opened up some of these very special areas that have been wildlife refuge areas, like at Wilson Hill or the Upper and Lower Lakes area. And what that opens up to is a magnificent largemouth fishery that seems to exist in those places. And that experience is one of the best experiences I've ever had fishing fresh water. So that's what's so special about largemouth bass. They can live in higher temperatures. They don't need as much oxygen, I would assume, but they have their own magic. And again, I will always love fishing largemouth bass. And we have so many areas here in our region that have these bass. All the bays and backwaters of the St. Lawrence River are wonderful places to go for largemouth. They're the same places that you'll find huge populations of carp most of the time. So when you think of bass fishing this year, and when you think of our area, we're not only the smallmouth capital of the world, but we really have wonderful largemouth fishing. It's not the same as down south, and these anglers from down south are probably not going to come here to fish for largemouth. But what the largemouth fishing does offer us is another opportunity for visiting vacationers to come here that aren't as avid a bass fishermen as the smallmouth pros are. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing